Hypothalamus Artificial Intelligence, HI. Digital transformation powered by real-time, intelligent, and autonomous algorithms. Presents its solution based on decision-making artificial intelligence for the mathematical modeling for optimize the supplier-driven demand. Planning driving demand or planning that drives demand. From the point of view of organizational management, it can be said that the demand model and the production and sales model are the hypothalamus of the organization. How these two models are handled is the cornerstone of successful planning. A very good demand forecast, followed by regular production planning, or a regular demand forecast followed by very good production planning, will put the organization at risk. The modeling effort must be done in both directions. Demand driven by the market. The term demand driven was invented in 2002 at PeopleSoft. It was and is still defined as sensing changing customer demand, then adapting planning and production, while pulling from suppliers, all in real time. Under this approach, the organization's demand planning is done by the market, which determines what the organization should produce. The greatest effort is made in the demand forecasting model. Here's what traditional modeling might look like, from the integration of the two models. For all products, at all points of sale, for each of the periods of the planning horizon, the following process is carried out. The DEM model is used to estimate the parameters of demand models, with the parameters estimated for the probabilistic process average. Demand projections are made, and after a review of the projections, the pertinent adjustments are made, and the planning of the demand to be met is formalized. The next step is to use demand projections to determine the inventory policies, to be followed over the planning horizon. The final step is to run the SANDOP model taking as input, demand projection, and inventory policies. The result of the SANDOP model will be the plan of the goals, production and distribution, to be achieved during the planning horizon. This process, despite being carried out with advanced mathematical models, may have many coordination problems. Some of them may be: since demand planning was done without considering all the constraints that need to be met in production, it may not be possible to meet it. Because demand planning was done without considering the economics of costs and benefits, it is possible to produce products that are undesirable, often because they force production to meet recklessly made commitments. Minimum inventories are planned for all products, even those that cannot be sold or produced, which can lead to further stress on the production system, and inventories may not have considered storage capacity management, leading to infeasibility in inventory policies. The above are some of the problems of coordinated planning, which can be solved with integrated planning. Demand driven by the market or demand driven? The term was invented in 2002 at PeopleSoft. It was and is still defined as sensing changing customer demand, then adapting planning and production, while pulling from suppliers, all in real time. Under this approach, the organization's demand planning is done by the market, which determines what the organization should produce. Demand driven by the seller or driving demand. The term is used by HI to name its approach to integrated supply and demand chain planning. It can be defined as demand controlled by the seller, or by the producer, who decides from the potential demand which one should be attended, and how it should be met. Under this approach, the organization's demand planning is carried out by the organization, deciding what to offer to the market, taking its potential demand as a reference, but deciding autonomously and optimally what demand it wants to meet. The modern approach is to integrate the three models into one, so that planning is done holistically, and not segmented into three separate silos, which do not see what is happening next to them. The process to follow is: the SANDOP model is modified as follows. The algebraic equations of demand models, not projections, are the representation of demand. This is equivalent to taking the demand model to the SANDOP. In this way, the integrated model will be able to make demand projections internally. Demand equations are expected to include the elasticities of firm-controlled factors, so that the model decides the optimal value for these factors. The inventory model is integrated into the SANDOP model. With these changes, the SANDOP model will produce, as part of the optimization process, The optimal demand projection, defined as the projection that is feasible to fulfill, and that produces the greatest economic benefits to the company, and optimal inventory policies, respecting storage capacities, and establishing policies only for those products that are part of the optimal demand projection. The fundamental result of the SAND-OP model will be the same as in the traditional method. The plan of the goals, production and distribution, to be achieved during the planning horizon. But it will be a realistic, feasible, and economically optimal plan. Alfred North Whitehead affirmed, "Algebra is the intellectual instrument which has been created for rendering clear the quantitative aspects of the world."